r/crazy stories. Number 1. My classmate nearly stabbed someone. In my English class yesterday, we also had a substitute teacher. We were memorizing our speech. I was bored, so I was talking to my friend, and out of nowhere the teacher screamed, "Stop!" and speed walks towards the desk behind mine. So of course I want to know what she's on about, so I turn around. I didn't expect what I saw, which was one of the calmest girls, let's call her Molly, make a stabbing motion toward this guy, let's call him Brad, while holding scissors, nearly stabbing him. The teacher asked her to talk to her, completely panicking, but she wouldn't. Molly kept on shouting that she was going to kill Brad and holding the scissors towards him. Now Brad was scared since he thought he was going to get stabbed. After a while, she screamed, "Shut up," at him, and turns to the teacher and says, "He's so annoying." The teacher, of course, asks her to put down the scissors, but she doesn't. After a while, she goes with the teacher, but she out the scissors in her skirt pocket. So everything is okay, right? Wrong. Brad thinks she's gone, so he starts singing Hail Mary in a joking manner, but Molly hears and lunges at him, holding the scissors, and tries to stab him, but misses because he jumps out of the way and shouts. Now she was right next to me, and I hear her mumble, "I wish I didn't miss." And then she walks out of class with the teacher, still holding the scissors. And as she's walking out the door, my other hear her mumble, "All you bitches will pay. I'll kill all of you." And she finally leaves. Later, Molly comes back for her stuff and nearly tries to stab him again, but the teacher stops her. She just grumbles and puts the scissors back into her skirt pocket and walks out of the class with the teacher. A few seconds later, the teacher that looks over our year came in and asked if we're all okay, and then leaves with Molly. And we just continue with our work. One of her geography classmates also said she did the same thing later. This was the first time she snapped like this, but she has made threats and clenched her fists at people which no one saw as a big deal. Another friend of mine who sat next to her said that she had a list of targets and talked about if someone gets to 10 strikes, they die. Number 2. I saw a mermaid when I was little and no one believes me. It was when I was 6 or 7 and my family took a week trip to Catalina Island, just off the coast of Los Angeles. When we were walking down the pier, or the dock, I was looking over the edge down at the deep, clear water when I saw a woman with really long blonde hair with a fishtail swim past quickly and disappear under the pier. That's when I immediately ran to my mom and said I saw a mermaid. Like I literally saw one, and I kept telling my whole family the entire trip that I really did. The only one that believed me ATM was 5-Yo brother. But of course he would. He was little LOL. Anyways, I only saw the back of the woman swimming, never a face or front of the body. And it was at the end of the pier where no one could swim out to since it's so deep and the water gets crazy. But I do truly believe I saw one. And I did some research about Catalina Island, and they have nothing on mermaid events where people dress as mermaids for entertainment. Otherwise, I would have just thought it was a fake one. I don't know if I saw what I believe I saw, which is a freaking mermaid, or if I just imagined I did, but the image in my head is still so clear that it couldn't have just been an illusion. Number 3, I got too scared and forgot to kill myself. So a few hours ago, I called crisis services. I was genuinely considering killing myself and had nobody to talk to, and just needed a voice and somebody to listen. They said they'd send a volunteer to take me to get help, and they'd meet me at the corner of my street, so my roommates wouldn't have to know. I get there, there's cops waiting, they get out, walk up, ask to see my hands, while reaching for handcuffs. I look around, there's cop cars coming, fire trucks, and they're all reaching for batons or flashlights or handcuffs. So I obviously fucking run, I'm hiding behind cars, and in between houses, they're at my house talking to my roommates about me. I had to sneak in a side door and hide in the attic since it's snowing. I finally found a place I can go to for counseling tomorrow. But when somebody asks for help, why do they pull up like I belong in prison and go for batons? I called for help not to get fucking jumped by police or arrested. Everyone sees me as crazy now, and I get why. I just wish they would see it through my eyes and not belittle me for it. Just to be clear, I'm good RN, not really looking for a pity party, processing everything, and found a place to go for counseling and maybe some antidepressants and mood stabilizers tomorrow. Just need to find somewhere else to live. I'm way too embarrassed to leave my room at all and show my face to anyone I know. This has just been a wild night. Number 4. The time me and my brother encountered a murderer on meth. I believe it was March of 2006, and me and my brother encountered a man named Aaron Dunn in Elk Grove, K. Now it was just a regular day. I was about 12 years old at the time, and my brother was about 9 or 10. Anyways, we come back home from playing basketball, and my mom tells me and my brother she needs a few items from the store. Me and my brother didn't hesitate. We loved going to the store because my mom usually would give us a $50 bill and we could get whatever we wanted. So we're walking through the parking lot of the plaza where the store was. We were approached by a man that looked really pissed off and amped up. He pulled up on us pretty fast too. Like he didn't want us to leave. He pulls in front of us and asks us, "Hey, how old are you guys?" Me and my brother, not knowing what he was talking about, we thought he was a nutcase, answered 12 and 9, he told me. And my brother never let a woman hurt you and stay in school, and he drives off really fast. So me and my brother are kind of shocked, like what the hell was that? Unbeknownst to all us, he ended up shooting 2 people at the Chili's right across the street where the store was. He was caught and sentenced to death in 2010, but I'll never forget that day. I knew he wanted somebody to shoot, but we were too young. He's seen that wouldn't have been right. But that's just one story in my life that has happened. Number 5. I saw a man die at Boy Scout camp. It was this last summer, 2019, and I was in a scout camp for a week in Arizona. While we were leaving the camp, my friend's dad had his heater core break down and was in need for a tow. The tow truck company was about 2 hours, maybe 3 from the camp, and it was a shitty part of the state, meth. When we got the phone call, he was here and he had got the truck on the ramp. Me and the owner of the truck walked down to the parking lot. We got there and the tow truck driver was on the floor. Limp, no response, and his eyes stone cold. The owner of the truck started to revive him with chest compressions, CPR, and he wasn't responding. The camp EMT happened to come in at the same time and started calling the ambulance, as well as the medical staff. The junior counselors were around and saw the body and they cried. One of the kids was maybe 15 and short. He wore a BYU shirt and told me to watch the gate. I stayed at the entrance gate for about 15, 20 minutes until the sheriff and the ambulance got there. One of my adult leaders showed up at the gate and told me to let him in, so I did. He knew the situation and the rangers and sheriff. The short Bayou kid came up to me, not swearing, but just yelling at me. I knew I didn't need to take any shit from him. I'm 17 and a foot taller than this kid. After a while, they threw a tarp on the body, and the counselor kids made me pray with them. They said shit like, "We hope your family knows you're in a better place and you have lived a happy life." The corpse looked like he overdosed on meth, and he was foaming at the mouth when I saw him, but I didn't tell anyone. Eventually, the EMT drove by, and I asked him if the guy was going to be okay. I'm seeing the deputies put the tarp over this corpse, and the EMT looks at me and says, "I'm not at liberty to say." Moral of the story, Boy Scouts is something I've done to learn how to react in situations like this, and it makes me sad other scouts/adults can't deal with this. Emergencies can happen at any time, and if not handled properly, the situation can only go downhill. Number 6. My school isn't exactly the best. I should start off by saying, my school is trash. It really sucks, to be honest with you. There was always cops present due to bad behavior like selling drugs, fights, etc. Anyways, I'll get to the story. While I skipped school, I met up with one of my friends. I'll call him C. Him and I were hanging out on the path that is right next to my school. I can't remember what we were doing exactly on that path, but one of our acquaintances came by. He has a couple of loose screws. We all decided to go in the school and walk around, which for some reason was looked down upon, but we could care less. Once we got in, we went to the bathroom so I could take a piss. We stayed in the bathroom for a little longer until we heard something going on in the halls. We all decided to go out because we thought it was going to be a fight. But it wasn't. What we saw was a student girl and a cop. The cop was trying to restrain her, but she was not having it. What happened next, C and I found funny, but our acquaintance wasn't having it. He's the type of guy who thinks the law enforcement did him wrong and was terrible. But what ends up happening with the girl is that she was slammed into the wall and then body slammed into the ground. While this whole ordeal was happening, a bunch of teachers were watching with disbelief. Honest to God, I thought my acquaintance was going to charge the cop. He had anger and blood in his eyes. Pretty crazy if I say so myself. But as soon as she hit, then ground, and then rolled over, the principal closed the door in cliché fashion, as if it was a closing scene in a skit when the curtains end the show. After that, a hold and secure happened. That's basically when there's a non-emergency happens, but the staff don't want students getting in the way. When that happened, all three of us had the instinct to run in opposite direction. A couple teachers seen us running and probably were wondering, what the fuck were those tards doing? Once we got to the end of the hall, we went up the staircase. Only a few meters away was the guidance counselor's office. C and I ran into it because we didn't want to get caught in the hall by the teachers. I guess our acquaintance didn't have the same idea and kept running. While we were in the GC office, we explained what happened, and she was cool with us. Wasn't mad. She just wanted us to stay in the office with her until the ordeal was done. Once the overhead announcement came on, we went to our classes to tell our friends what happened and how crazy it was to us at the time. That's one of the stories I have from school. I have a few more years to go. Maybe I'll have more to tell, but who knows? Number 7. The time my house got robbed while I was inside. So it was June 2017, just left work and headed home. Was about to have dinner while watching The Simpsons when I see the doorknob of my side door wiggle a bit. Now this wasn't out of the ordinary because my brother and father always check if the door is unlocked when they get home before searching for their keys. Lazy fucks. And so I answer, "It is locked," and get up to search for the key. When I hear a loud bang and automatically look at the door, it was shaking still. It took 3 blows to break open my huge-ass door, and in they were. Now, I live in Argentina, which is next to Brazil, and to my surprise, when the 4 dudes entered the house, they told me to lay on the ground, in Portuguese. So there I was, alone in my house, a female, with 4 Brazilian men with guns and knives. They tie me up with zip ties and start asking me where the money is. I tell them I don't know, and they start taking me room to room. So I told them where the valuables, where. At one point, one of them gets extremely angry and frustrated and pokes me with the knife. It wasn't a full-on stab, but it did draw blood, and then put the knife to my throat and left a mark. When they were getting ready to leave, they get me to the top floor of my house and make me kneel. It was pitch dark, and they didn't want the lights on. So there I was, kneeling in front of the wall, and I feel the gun at the back of my head. This is where I started thinking, well, shit, my niece isn't born yet, so I'll never get to meet her. And the new season of Game of Thrones isn't out yet, so I'll never know what happened. I was terrified, but somewhat came to terms with it. I wasn't going to let those fuckers feel my fear, so I just stayed in silence. And then they pulled me back to my feet and locked me in the bathroom, tied my feet and everything too. As soon as I heard my car start, I broke free of the ties on my feet and got up to look for my phone. They couldn't have taken it for GPS reasons, and there it was, submerged in water, but still functional. I called my father and my brother, and noon picked up, God damn it. Then I called the police, and, well, the rest is all a blur. I did get my car back, but not anything else, and thankfully I didn't get raped or killed. Number 8. The time I threw my saxophone at my teacher. This happened today. I recently had gone to the doctor, and with my many medical issues and bad memory, he told me that I should keep a journal so that at my next visit, I can tell him everything that happened. So the next day I was in band playing my saxophone and my throat started to close up. I immediately went to the nurse and got my medication. It was fine. I went back to my seat in band and took out my journal so that I can write in my journal that my throat closed up. All of a sudden, my teacher, let's call him Mr. B, saw that I had my journal out and yelled, "Adam, what are you doing? Is that necessary right now?" I quickly said, "I need to, it's my medical and he cut me off. "I don't care what it is. I want it away, now!" he screamed. "Okay, geez," I said. "Geez, put your saxophone away. I'm writing you up," said Mr. B. And keep in mind that I have been dealing with this underscore for not only this year, but he also was my 4th and 5th grade band teacher as well. So I was fed up. "I need this because I have medical issues. Let me try to live more than 14 years, I yelled at him. I was pissed. So after my band teacher told me to take my sax outside of the class and to sit there until the end of the period, 21 minutes away, I just took out my journal and continued writing my med issue in my journal. Then the other band teacher, Mrs. M, asked me why I have my journal out. But before I could explain, Mr. B stomped over and demanded to take the journal. Now I have been told by not only my doctor, but my parents to not let anyone else even touch my journal. So I said, no, sorry. Mr. B grabbed my hand and tried to take my journal. After I told him to stop, he yelled no. By now, half of the class was watching this, and I was getting mad. So I pushed him away and told him to stop grabbing me. He wouldn't. So in front of everyone, I picked up my saxophone case, sax inside so it was heavy, and I threw it at my teacher. It hit him and he went down. When I went to the principal's office, he had my folder, and every student had one. The folder said all of our grades, extracurricular activities, and more. So the principal had my folder and was looking through it. And just so you know, I had not ever gone to the principal's office, ever, so this was a surprise to him. And what my teacher didn't know was that I was family friends with this principal, so he knew me, which was good. Mr. B was yelling at me, and my principal calmly said, "Adam, tell me your side." After some explaining, I got off with no punishment. Chill principals are the best principals.